Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to Spirit and Truth Sanctuary. What a beautiful day it was today. And I had several things I had to take care of this morning, and then actually spent about 2 hours outside doing some yard work. And it was just a gorgeous day. And so I wanted to look springtime-ish tonight. I had my little short sleeve shirt on, but I got a little cool, so I put the sweater on. But I'm acting like I'm not in the realm of reality, knowing that 3 days from now it's going to be back in the 20s in Atlanta. Welcome to Atlanta, by the way. And so 75 today, 35 tomorrow, whatever. But hey, it's all good. It's all God. It's happy. We are getting happy and going to see what happens. That is our motto for this year, 2021. We're going to get happy and see what happens. Hopefully that turns into staying happy and then being happy. Happiness becoming not just something we experience from time to time, but the natural state of our being. The beingness of who we are is that of happiness. Welcome to Spirit and Truth Sanctuary, where the whole household of God is both welcomed and wanted. We are an inclusive spiritual community, meaning that labels don't either qualify or negate anyone. No one is defined by race, by ethnicity, by sexuality, by gender, by class, by country, by culture, by religion. We are all defined by one thing, and that is that we are spirit having an earthly experience. And so if you're connecting with that, you're probably here for the right reasons tonight. We welcome you. We know at Spirit and Truth Sanctuary that all of us change. Change is the only constant in the universe. We all change, but we change at our own pace and in our own space. No one can force how quickly we change, but we do know that when the pain of remaining the same becomes greater than the pain of change, we all will change. And so hopefully we're not forced into it. Hopefully we surrender at some point, letting Spirit lead and guide us into more of an evolution of our soul and our consciousness. We also know that religion has attempted for many years to tell us what to think. Spirituality kind of invites us into teaching us how to think. And so we encourage you tonight, come let us reason together tonight. We said this past Sunday, one of our favorite quotes, Galileo said, "I am not inclined to believe that the same God who would endow us with reason, sense, intellect, would forbid us to use those things." And so we want you to not check your mind tonight. Bring your mind with you, and let's open up those minds together. We're glad that you're here. We are continuing our series in Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. Been just an amazing series. We've had Bishop Carlton Pearson has been with us once. Rabbi Larry Cernovitz was with us last Wednesday. Our discussions have just been unbelievable. And so we're learning through this series not to put labels on experiences of good or bad, choosing not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, also surrendering to the idea that the universe sends to us whatever is necessary for the evolution of our consciousness. We're entertaining the idea that we are not our thoughts. We are not even the thinker of our thoughts, but we are the observer of the thinker who is having the thoughts. And I know that's a lot to chew on, especially if this is your first time. If you've been here through this whole series, it's kind of becoming just part of who you are now. No, I'm not my thoughts. I'm not the search engine that has the thoughts trying to find the thing. I'm the observer. I'm the operator. I'm the awareness of these things. And so in that way, we say we are not our beliefs. We are the spirit capable of both having beliefs, considering beliefs, changing, even exchanging beliefs, adapting new beliefs. And so people ask me all the time, "D.E., what do you believe?" And I go, I believe in love. I believe in spirit. Other than that, I don't believe anything. I consider a lot of things. I believe the I am that I am is something that flows through me and flows through us. Other than those couple of things, I don't know if I have a lot of beliefs, but I do consider a lot of things as a spirit capable of considering beliefs. A little bit further, we are becoming aware of the voice coming from the conditioning of our minds or the collective cultural mindsets we may have inherited from family, from race, religion, gender. All of these, if we're not aware or vigilant, they act as filters affecting how we interpret situations in our lives. And so with all that said, we welcome your comments tonight. Comment often. We'll try to make sure we get all those together at the end and prepare those for discussion. Also, you can download the notes tonight in your event description, and we'd love for you to follow along with us. With all that said, let's take a big deep breath. Close those eyes, and as we take and give that breath, we celebrate the beginner's mind tonight. We know that faith comes by hearing, not by having heard. God, we know tonight that you have spoken in the past, but we know that you are the same yesterday, today, and forever. You are speaking in this moment. We know that as we set up the conditions to be fed, as we empty our cup, that the knowing is flowing to us and through us tonight. For it's in the name, nature, nurture, person, presence, principle of the Christ man, Christ mind, and Christ mystery, we say, let there be light, let there be awakening in this place and space tonight. All right, this is our prayer of surrender. We also call it the invitation of truth. It's just the way we get the soil, the groundwork of our minds, our hearts, our inner man, ready to receive what Spirit has for us tonight. I'll ask you, if you will, let's all read this out loud together tonight. Spirit of truth, carry me where you will. Bring to me what you will. Take from me what you will. Awaken in me what you will. The Christ man is around me. The Christ mind is in me. The Christ power flows through me. And the Christ mystery exists as me. I believe it. I perceive it. And now I receive it. I am surrendered. Amen. And so it is. Tonight we're going to talk about strengthening the immune system. And so it's Tolle is going to break it down in two different levels. Physical immune system. The other is an immunity to negative emotions, having an immunity to negative thought processes. And so there is a level of intersectionality. There's interconnectedness in these things. And so we know that as we think, so are we. We know that even our emotions have an impact on us at the cellular level. Our cells are basically made up of water. And as we've discussed before, not all that often, that water actually responds to different vibrations. Water responds to harsh vibrations, to loud vibrations, to more peaceful and calm vibration. And so in that same frame, in some level of scientific basis, the water cells in our body respond to our vibratory thought patterns. And so both our immune system at the cellular level and also our immune system at the psychological level, it becomes a physiological effect on us. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. I think it's going to be something that all of us will get something out of tonight. Let's jump right in. Another benefit of the practice of awareness of the inner body in the physical realm is great strengthening of the immune system, which occurs when you inhabit the body. And so we've been talking for a couple of weeks that we're not other than our body, even though our spirit inhabits this body for now, and we know the body is passing away, that we don't want to perceive ourselves that we're not part of this physical body. We are. Our spirit is inhabiting this, and so we celebrate it. We're not separate from it, but we know that the body is not eternal. The more consciousness you bring into the body, the stronger the immune system becomes. It is as if every cell awakens and rejoices. So immediately Tolle goes to that scientific level of understanding that there is a cellular response to vibration, that our bodies do respond to both positive and negative emotions. The body loves your attention. It is also a potent form of self-healing. Most illnesses creep in when you are not present in the body. We're going to come back to that theme in a minute. If the master is not present in the house, all kinds of shady characters will take up residence there. When you inhabit your body, it will be hard for unwanted guests to enter. It is not only your physical immune system, here we go, that becomes strengthened. Your psychic immune system is greatly enhanced as well. This next sentence really started me thinking here. The latter protects you from the negative mental, emotional force fields of others, which are highly contagious. And so when Tolle says the latter, he's saying not just your physical immune system, but he's more specifically or explicitly talking about your psychic immune system. That doesn't mean predicting the future. It just means your psyche, the way that you think, the way that you process information, the way that you understand experiences that happen in your life. That enhances, watch this, your ability to protect you from negative mental, emotional force fields of others. Wow. Which are highly contagious. And I was thinking today, some of us are super spreaders of joy. Some of us can be super spreaders of negativity. But when your psychic immune system is strengthened and enhanced, you have a defense mechanism against the negative force fields of others that we have to encounter at times. Inhabiting the body protects you not by putting up a shield. This is interesting. We're not inhabiting the body protects us not by putting up a shield. We're going to get to that. But by raising the frequency vibration of your total energy field. So that anything that vibrates at a lower frequency, such as fear, anger, depression, and so on, now exists in what is virtually a different order of reality. Whew, this is so good. And there's some nuance here, so I want you to notice the nuance. We are talking about repelling, keeping certain vibrations away from us, but it's not through the vehicle of resistance. It's not necessarily a defense mechanism. We're not being defensive. Tolle even uses the terminology. We are not being defensive here. We're not resisting something. Watch this. Why? Because that is a lower vibration. Defensiveness, negativity, fear, suspicion, anxiety, all those are interrelated. And so Tolle says, don't get a mental image that you're putting up a defense. You're not putting up a shield. What we're doing is vibrating so high, watch this, that we are in another dimension of frequency where the negative mental emotional vibrations don't even exist. Ooh, that's good right there. We're not defending ourselves. We're not resisting something. We know that what we resist persists. What we fight, we ignite. What we make the issue eventually becomes the idol. And so we are not defending, resisting, contesting, protesting something. We are actually vibrating at a different level where these other things don't exist. They can't come into that space. There was a sermon I preached, it may even be 20 years ago. It's bizarre that I can say that now, where I talked about the different praises, the Barak praise. I think that's lifting your hands. And then there were different praises, and I don't remember the exact word, but I think it's a Hebrew word called the halal praise. Brandy's singing in the background. We sing that Byron Cage song. I think it was the halal praise, but if I'm wrong, I'm certainly willing to be corrected. Where it talks about it cuts off the enemy's air supply, because the way that it's used in the Old Testament is that he who has this certain praise has their foot on the neck of the enemy. And so the imagery is that you're cutting off the air supply of an enemy. And probably 20 years ago, I may have even said the devil or demons or something of that nature. Now I would understand it as I elevate myself into a different frequency, maybe even in praise, that I don't necessarily have my foot on the neck of the devil or some type of evil, but that I cut off the air supply of the lower vibrations, not by resisting them, not by becoming defensive or trying to combat negativity with more negativity, but by raising my vibration, that those lower frequencies can't exist. They can't even ascend into a higher vibration. We're already in some good stuff. I know y'all are like, whoo, that's good to eat. When we live in joy, peace, love, there is no air for negativity. Jesus said it this way. And so see if you can follow this progression of thought, the way that we go through this, not contesting, not being defensive, but raising the vibration so that they're on two different planes of existence now. Jesus said it this way. In one point, he said, resist the devil. Okay, so I perceive that as a little bit more defensive. That's a little bit lower vibration from Jesus. But in another place, watch this, he said, make no place. In other words, if you vibrate in love, there is no place. In another teaching, he said, if your whole body is full of light, there is no room for darkness. That's not the defensiveness. That's raising your vibration to another level. Paul said it this way: perfect love casts out fear. We could paraphrase that by saying when you're in perfect love, there's just no space. There's no available space for fear. And so, mindful, vigilant, not to become defensive. As we know, no problem can be solved using the same consciousness that creates it. And so we're not becoming the thing that we're trying to work against. Negativity, defensiveness, reactionary. All those things are lower vibrations. We are ascending into a higher vibration so that not that we just repel those mental states, they just don't survive. They don't belong in that frequency. That's really good. It doesn't enter your field of consciousness anymore. Or if it does, you don't need to offer any resistance to it because it passes right through you. Whew, that's so good. Sometimes we talk about things that arrive in our experience, and if we resist them, if we contest them, if we become embittered by them, they linger a lot longer than they were meant to be. As we would say, cliche in church circles, it didn't come to stay, it came to pass. Let it pass through you. Don't resist. Don't persist it. Jesus even saying to Judas, listen to the power of this. Judas, what you must do, and I'd teach that in another lifetime. What you must do. There's some interesting hermeneutics there. Judas, what you must do it quickly. Or the Amplified Version says, do it more quickly than you first planned. In other words, this experience is going to pass to me and through me, and then 3 days later, he is resurrected, ascending to the right hand of the Father. All right, let's keep coming. If at any time you are finding it hard to get in touch with your with the inner body, especially when you're in a pattern of worry or anxiety, it is usually easier to focus on your breathing first. Conscious breathing, which is a powerful meditation on its own, in its own right, will gradually put you in touch with the body. And this is interesting. This next sentence I underline. Last week, I was part of a meditation by a local sangha in Decatur, and the Buddhist monk who was teaching the meditation taught 6 different types of breathing to be aware and to focus on the breath. And Tolle actually refers to one of these types of breathing right here. He says, watch this, follow the breath with your attention as it moves in and out of your body. That's a Buddhist principle. It's it's called the follow, but the breath goes in. You visualize feeling the breath coming into your mouth, into your lungs, traveling into the cells of your body. That's a technique, a meditative technique. Breathe into the body and feel your abdomen expanding and contracting slightly with each inhalation and exhalation. If you find it easy to visualize, now here's something beautiful. If you find it easy to visualize, close your eyes and see yourself surrounded by light or immersed in a luminous substance, a sea of consciousness. Then breathe in this light. Feel that luminous substance filling up your body and making it luminous also. Then gradually focus more on the feeling. You are now in your body. Don't get attached to any visual image. Okay, so this is a pretty powerful paragraph. So instead of us just studying it, let's put it not just into practice, but what in the academic world they call praxis. And that is combining academic knowledge with practical application. And so let's do this. I'm going to encourage everybody at home. I'm going to talk you through it, but in just a moment we're going to close our eyes. We're going to take some big deep breaths in, and I'll walk you through the visualization of it while you're doing it. And so let's do it. Let's not just talk about it. Let's be doers of the word tonight. Come on. If you will, take a big deep breath in, close those eyes. Visualize now as you close your eyes, seeing yourself surrounded by light, immersed in a luminous substance, as a sea of consciousness surrounding you. Then breathe in the light. Feel that luminous substance filling up your body and making it luminous also. Then gradually focus more on the feeling. You are now in your body. Wow, that breath is taking us into our body. However, we don't get attached to any visual image. All right, open those eyes. Maybe that's an exercise that can help you get centered some this week. As in Genesis, the first couple chapters of Genesis, there's a lot of emphasis on the breath. God formed man of the dust of the earth. Watch this, but man was not a living being until God breathed breath into the nostrils of man. That word there, both breathe and breath, comes from the Hebrew word pneumos, which literally means spirit. Never let your Christian friends scare you about focusing on your breath. Whether you practice yoga, practice meditation, there's nothing demonic about those things. You are focusing on that spiritual breath that comes from God. That's the greatest, maybe the greatest gift that we've ever given. Our life is in our breath. All right. If you need to use your mind for a specific purpose, use it in conjunction with your inner body. Only if you're able to be conscious without thought can you use your mind creatively, and the easiest way to enter that state is through your body. Whenever an answer, a solution, or creative idea is needed, stop thinking for a moment. Ooh, that's so good right there. By focusing attention on your inner energy field. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten to a place of mental exhaustion, and I hit a wall, whether it's writing, studying, research, worry. I hit a place that I just can't use my mind anymore. I stop thinking, I walk away from thought, and all of a sudden the answer appears. The solution appears. And so it was the way that the universe was teaching me how not to be trapped in my mind. Become aware after we stop thinking, become aware of the stillness. When you resume thinking, it will be fresh and creative. In any thought activity, make it a habit to go back and forth every few minutes or so between thinking and an inner kind of listening, an inner stillness. Another book that Eckhart Tolle wrote is called Stillness Speaks. If you can find the stillness, that's where the voice of God is. Some people in our tradition growing up achieved that through fasting, both fasting food, music, television, things that would distract from stillness. The method is not what's holy. The means is not, the way you get there is not what's holy, but the end product is what is sacred. And so whether it's fasting, breathing, stillness, finding that place of surrender where Spirit speaks to us, that's what's important, not the way you get there. We could say, don't just think with your head, think with your whole body. Wow. When listening to another person, this is so good here. It's the last portion of this teaching. Tolle's going to talk about active, empathetic, participatory listening. And so grab onto this right here. When listening to another person, don't just listen with your mind, with your filters, with your defenses, with your presuppositions, presumptions, assumptions, preconceived notions, solutions, answers. Sometimes it's just good to listen without always trying to think about a response or even filtering or some type of apologetic. Just listen. Just be in the moment, fully listening. Don't just listen with your mind. Listen with your whole body. Feel the energy field of your inner body as you listen. That takes attention away from thinking and creates a still space that enables you to truly listen without the mind interfering. You are giving the other person space to be. It is the most precious gift you can give. Active, empathetic, participatory listening. I did some reading last week from a famous African-American, both ethnographer, anthropologist, but was able to revolutionize the field of research. Her name was Zora Neale Hurston. She was lauded as a literary genius by Alice Walker. If you're familiar with Alice Walker, she wrote the novel The Color Purple that became the famous movie. Oprah Winfrey and Whoopi Goldberg, Danny Glover. I remember seeing The Color Purple on Christmas morning. It was a pretty heavy movie for Christmas morning. But Zora Neale Hurston was very impactful in the life of Alice Walker, who wrote the book, The Color Purple. But Zora Neale Hurston, listen to this, revolutionized research as what is called a native anthropologist. What does that mean? That means she became part of the group that she was researching. Instead of an outside, prejudicial, biased voice from an outsider's perspective, every group that she researched, she became a part of their customs, their cultures, their sayings, she tried not to bring her judgment to it, and so she allowed the research to come from those being researched instead of from her own biases. She revolutionized the whole field. Worrying less about appeasing academic elites or satisfying some scientific objectivity, she listened, watch this, to a person's soul. Whew, that's so powerful. What later became known as ethno-hermeneutic, the ethno-hermeneutic approach, meaning she didn't want to dictate what people said. She wanted to inhabit their experience. That's really powerful. I've had the chance to do this several times, and I've had to let my guard down to do it. First, one of the first stories that I've told you many times is as a Christian at a Hindu celebration, a religious holy day called Ganesh. I had to be part of the experience. I couldn't stand there with a Christian mind and my white American constructs. I had to become an Indian. I had to become Hindu. I had to enter into it to really feel the soul of what they were experiencing. Another moment, which was kind of a silly moment, we were in Asheville, North Carolina a couple of years ago, staying there overnight because of one of my nieces was getting married the next day. And so we were there with Mike and Esther and a couple of friends and Brandy. And so we go into downtown Asheville, which is it's kind of a hippie hangout, if you've ever been to downtown Asheville. Very eclectic, very eccentric. And so there was, I don't know, 10 or 12 people with different types of drums, congas, bongos, African drums. And they were just beating the drums, and people were just kind of jumping around and dancing. And everybody with us was just kind of spectating. We were just kind of gawking and looking on with awe. And I noticed that the people who were down there dancing were laughing and joyous and having a good time. Before I knew it, I was right down there jumping around and laughing and vibrating and dancing. And I was trying to get everybody. Sometimes it's not about, you can experience what somebody is feeling, sensing, going through as a spectator. You have to inhabit the experience. And so that may not be through dancing. It may not be through another religious celebration. We can actually do that through listening. Inhabiting the sacred space of really listening to a person's soul when they speak. I have had to learn how to cultivate that, listen, as a white man involved in the struggle for civil rights. As a straight person involved in the struggle for gay rights, LGBTQ rights, human rights. I've had to, as a person who probably the environment won't affect me that much in my lifetime, I've had to inhabit my great-great-great-grandchildren's minds and lives to think, what world am I leaving them? Why is it important for me to recycle? Well, it doesn't affect me, but I have to inhabit someone else's experience. And so in that listening, we are giving a sacred gift to others. Brandy actually sings a song occasionally at Spirit and Truth called The Gift of Acceptance. It could easily be called the gift of listening. The gift of just, I'm coming neutral. I don't have an answer. I don't have a question. I don't have an objection. I'm just trying to inhabit your experience. I want, as Elvis Presley used to sing, walk a mile in my shoes. Before you accuse, criticize, and abuse, walk a mile in my shoes. The gift of your acceptance, actually feeling what a person is saying. And in some ways, if I can marry this to our Christian context tonight, isn't this what Jesus did? Didn't he inhabit our experience? Taking on flesh, feeling, sensing, a high priest touched with everything we feel. That was his participatory, empathetic, active, native listening. He wanted to not be a spectator. He wanted to participate in feeling what we feel. Can we do that for others through our listening? Most people don't know how to listen because the major part of their attention is taken up by thinking. Wow. They pay more attention to them to what the other person is saying, and none at all to what really matters, the being of the other person underneath the words and the mind. Have you ever listened to somebody's soul even past their words? The words are coming out as hurt, anger, rage, fear, jealousy, insecurity, whatever. Have you ever felt a person's soul past their words? It's a powerful place to be, to tap into that knowing, to that beingness. Let's keep coming. Of course, you cannot feel someone else's being, watch this, except through your own being. If you're not inhabiting your own space, if you're not comfortable in your own skin, inhabiting your own inner man, inner woman, it's hard to inhabit someone else's space. I have to be in my own being to really connect with someone else's being. This is the beginning of the realization of oneness, spirit and truth, which is love. At the deepest level of being, you are one with all that is. My goodness, that's so rich right there. One with all that is. Interconnectedness, intersectionality. I'm not necessarily a deer or a bear or even a fish in the ocean, but I'm connected to them. I'm connected to the environment. I'm connected to my gay brothers and sisters, to those who are of disenfranchised, those of oppressed communities. I may not be that, but in the oneness mindset, we are all connected in it. Man, Dr. King was so strong at this point that what affects one directly affects all indirectly. We are all tied, inextricably tied in a single garment of destiny. I can't be who I am until you are who you're going to be. And so Dr. King was very strong to that point about the intersectionality of the human experience. Most human relationships consist mainly of minds interacting with each other. Minds interacting with each other, not of human beings communicating, but being in communion. That's interesting. Can we be in communication? Yes. We're always giving our body language as communication, words, emails, text, social media, whatever. But being in communion, being in common union is a whole different level of connectivity. Yes, we're communicating, but sometimes, men are from Venus, women are from Mars, or however, women are from Venus, men are from Mars. Sometimes it's just different cultures, different experiences, different backgrounds, different political persuasions, and some sort of partial system that you've connected to. Yes, we're communicating, but we're not in communion. When we are truly listening with our being, we are in communion with each other. No relationship can thrive in that way. And that is why there is so much conflict in relationships. When the mind is running your life, conflict, strife, and problems are inevitable. Being in touch with your inner body creates a clear space, watch this, of no mind, within which the relationship can flower. My goodness. What is the context that we can relate this with Jesus? Obviously, we've talked about a high priest, touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but think, if you will, of some examples where Jesus was able to connect past words. Jesus was able to connect with people past religion, past culture, past experience, past political loyalties. Jesus called a centurion, listen to this, centurion connected to Rome. Jesus was raised under Roman oppression, at very least Roman occupation. They were basically, Jerusalem was Roman territory at that time. Yet Jesus calls a centurion, his oppressor. I have not found such great faith in all of Israel than in this centurion right here. He connects with it, they commune, Jesus speaks the word, and the centurion's servant is healed. What a powerful connectivity Jesus has with someone who doesn't share his experience, maybe even perceived as an enemy. Think about this. As the Christian Orthodox idea is that Jesus is sinless, and I have a different definition of that. That's okay. Jesus was willing to listen to those struggling with sin, or their definitions of sin. Think about the woman at the well. Different culture, different gender. She's considered a woman who's maybe even, it's skewed theologically, but they want to paint her as a prostitute. Some of that is believed to be that the male disciples of Jesus, once he ascended, didn't want Mary of Magdala, to have the esteem that Jesus gave her, and so they tainted her name with being a woman of sin. That may or may not be true. That's left to scholarly debate. But watch this. Not only did Jesus connect with a woman of a different culture, possibly in sin, but even he connected past her words. She came at him with religious stuff. Well, you worship here, we worship there. Why are you a Jew speaking to me? She came at him with defensiveness, resistance, otherness, difference, segregation, separation. He did not inhabit her words, he inhabited her being. He felt past her words, and all of a sudden, he's tapped into something. She walks away and says, I've never experienced that before. I've never been in the presence of anything like that. She becomes what we know in Christendom, the first evangelist. She goes out and begins to tell the whole city, come and see a man. She becomes the first evangelist. Come see a man who connected with my being, not just with my words, my culture, even my sensitivities. He looked, what was Dottie Rambo's song? He saw beyond my fault, looked beyond my fault and saw my need. He connected with my inner being. I think there's so many stories like that we could relate to both Jesus, Gandhi, MLK, Sri Krishna, Siddhartha Gautama, many enlightened beings who inhabited their divinity, that we can say, wow, they really were able to connect on that different level. And so I'm talking too much tonight. I get excited when we talk about those things. And so we're going to open up for discussion. Hopefully somebody has something to share with us tonight.
Lots of comments this evening. Richard shared early on, a psychic immune system is similar to a filter that functions as a gatekeeper that determines what we allow our mind to process or assimilate.
It can be a gatekeeper. That's a beautiful way of saying that. And so I love it that it is painted in a positive light, that the psychic immunity is not as much, because when we think about our immune system, we think about our resistance. Think about that. Do I have an immunity to COVID? I've had COVID. Do I have antibodies now that are fighting off COVID? And so in that framework, that's one understanding of immunity. But I love it, Richard, that you've taken us into a higher, not just of resisting, but operating in a higher frequency. I'm not having to, and I've taught this for weeks now, of repelling vibrations away from us. Hopefully I can transition in thought and not talk as much anymore about repelling something or being defensive against other ways of thinking, but that I just don't operate in that frequency anymore. I don't have to repel someone. I just don't operate there anymore. I don't fly in that stratosphere any longer. And so in that, as the gatekeeper of our minds, we don't even necessarily have to keep anything out. We just don't operate in that stratosphere anymore. And so the natural process is that it's just not part of our reality. It's not part of our experience. We laugh sometimes because if I ever watch Christian television these days, I just go, what in the world is going on this program right now? What are they talking about? And I don't necessarily have to resist that anymore. I don't have to resent it. It's so foreign to me because I don't operate in that vibration anymore. We're just in a total different stratosphere. And I'll say this, Richard, from the moment we started The Power of Now, you've always been in a different stratosphere. And so you're always taking us higher. Thank you. That's beautiful.
He actually chimed in a little bit later and said, never let your mind become a terrible thing to waste.
I love it.
Miss Irma shared, I love the way you express your thoughts and beliefs in the then and now. It showcases the learning and teaching process. As we grow and learn new thoughts, our beliefs and actions change. We reach and go higher in our thought process, out with the old, in with the new. Love ya.
Beautiful. Miss Irma, you just described what I didn't even know what to call it, 15, 20 years ago. I just called it a thought progression. I just knew that one thing was building on another, and I didn't know what to express with it. I knew that I had gone from concrete thought, literalism, the literal, that word in the Latin, literaire, the literal kills the law, the literal interpretation of the law kills, not just physically, it kills our mind. It puts our mind to sleep, and religion becomes, as Karl Marx said, the opiate of the masses. Literal concepts of religion not only are opiates, they radicalize some people, both Christians, Muslims. We get radicalized because the literal kills us. I went from the concrete to what I just termed the abstract. I stopped worrying so much about the answers, and I became comfortable with the gray area. From the abstract, I termed it mystic receptivity. I don't know why. I just began to see things more mystically. The mystical Christ. I began to say things like, if there never even was an actual person, Jesus, the Gospels are still gospel to me. If Jesus was just like Sri Krishna or Buddha, or they're all the same spirit, doesn't matter to me. There is something in all of that is a mystical receptivity to me. I'm finding truth in places I never thought I'd find it before. From that into oneness, into not just spiritual oneness with other faith traditions, that the same thing that we call Christ, Hindus would call Krishna, Buddhists would call the Buddha mind, the Christ mind, the Buddha mind. We call it different things. But in that oneness, that spiritual oneness, I am not other than God. As Meister Eckhart said, this is where Eckhart Tolle's name for Meister Eckhart, who preceded him several hundred years, I am that which thou art. Meister Eckhart said, watch this, let God be God as you. Let God express as you. And so that is taking us back to that Genesis account where we are one with God. We are in our divine nature. And so we see a lot of different thought progressions. Watch this, from the garden to the law, to the prophets, to John, to Jesus, to grace, to Paul's understanding of spiritual oneness, beholding in a mirror, the image of God, the glory of God. And so where we started at the garden, we've come full circle back to that spiritual oneness. Isn't that amazing? So it's not about one is greater than the other, that some are stepping stones or even gravestones. They are necessary processes in the circle and cycle of us waking up to our divine selves. And so that's a beautiful way of saying that, Irma. I love this, that as each morning arrives, there's new manna every day. There's new manna, new revelation, new whatness, new what is it, new mystery. But if I am married to yesterday's manna, I can't receive today. Jesus said it this way, I am the living well, the living water, the daily bread out of your belly. Watch this, not into your belly. That means the answer is already in you. Out of your belly shall flow rivers of living water. It's something that's flowing. It's not clogged up. It's not constipated. Forgive me. It is a flowing river. I love this. One of my favorite scriptures is this, that God called the light out of the darkness. Scripture does not say God spoke light into darkness. It's all interconnected. And truly there is no such, darkness as an illusion anyway. Darkness really is just the obstruction of light by an obstacle or an object. And so darkness really it actually is scientifically an illusion. All there is light in the universe, but objects create shadows. So in that same frame, Irma, we know that as we empty out each day, there's more light. There's more revelation. And so that's why Jesus said, the sons and daughters of the kingdom are like the wind. They blow here, they blow there. The religious mind says, don't be blown about by every wind of doctrine. The spiritual mind says, that's what the kingdom is it's learning to navigate and seeing the Christ mind in all things.
Laverne shared, I practice several different breathing techniques. One that works for me is a brown paper bag. Also, the 4-7-8 technique. Take a deep breath in, 4 seconds hold for 7 seconds, and finally let it go for 8 seconds. Might take some practice, but it really helps.
It's thank you, Laverne. It's not accidental that when people get angry, somebody will say, hey, just take a breath. Just breathe, just count to 10. Now that may be our practical way of trying to calm someone down, but on the meditative frequency, there's truth to that there is healing in our breathing, in focused breathing. And so I don't know that there's a right way to do it. There are many different ways of focusing on your breathing, but I would say the wrong way to do it is in guilt. Oh my God, am I cheating on Jesus? I'm focusing on my breathing. I'm meditating. The earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, all those that dwell therein. Enjoy all of it. I love it, Laverne, that you're able to connect with your breath.
Miss Bobby said the main thing is to avoid any negativity. Simply elevate yourself away from the atmosphere of people with lower vibrations. Step up and go into the free zone, which I like. She said go into the free zone. There's only clean, pure space.
I love it. Yeah, it's not a rejection of someone. It's not a denial. Maybe even in correcting myself, it's not necessarily even in a repelling of other people. It's just in a different reality. If you've ever watched either the Nature Channel, History Channel, Discovery, National Geographic, all these tap into this occasionally when they talk about the universe. They'll talk about parallel universes or even different dimensions of realities. Some ways they explain this is in a black hole or in a time warp. You can experience this sometimes in outer space travel, that things slow down, speed up, because there are different dimensions of reality. That's amazing to me. I certainly don't think that I can explain those from as an astrophysicist might be able to, but I am in awe of it. I'm in awe of the awareness that there are different dimensions of reality. There's an interesting story, and it's not in our Bible. I believe it's in the Hebrew Talmud, and so these are exegetical works, and sometimes the oral traditions that are passed down through generations through Jews and those in the Hebrew culture. But it's a story about Jeremiah. And Jeremiah sends out a young man to gather grapes. And the young man goes out into a field to gather some grapes for Jeremiah. And when he does, he sits down on the ground, he gets sleepy, and he falls asleep. When he comes back to the city, he doesn't recognize anyone. And so he asks some of the people there, he says, "Where's Jeremiah?" And they said, "Jeremiah the prophet?" He said, "Yes, I gathered these grapes for him." And the people began to tell him, "Jeremiah has been dead for 60 years. What? And so it's not necessarily a canonical text, but it is something in the mystical Hebrew Jewish tradition that is documenting thousands of years, even several hundred years before the birth of Jesus of Nazareth, this alternate reality that we can tap into at times. Jesus tapped into it when he invited his disciples into a session of binding and loosing. He invited them into mysteries. Who do men say that I am? Some say you're Elijah. Elijah's been dead for half a millennium. Some say you're Jeremiah, been dead for several hundred years. Some say you're Ezekiel. Watch this. Here's the trip right here. Some say you're John the Baptist. John was still alive. There was an understanding in the Hebrew tradition of either reincarnation, different realities. What does that mean? There are different spheres of existence. There are different planes. Think about it this way. Even in vibration, there are different types of waves. There's the microwave. There's the radio wave. There are gamma or X-rays that operate smaller. There are sound waves that actually can be pointed into your body that break up stones in you. They're all waves, but they operate on different frequencies, different levels, different lengths of waves. And so in that same way, our consciousness can tap into that. We can live on a higher plane of peace, love, and joy to where we don't really even experience fear and anxiety and anger and those things. It's just not part of our existence anymore. And so, Bobby, I love that. We're going to tap into the free zone.
Terry shared that she read a quote the other day, which is the ability to observe or listen without evaluating is the highest form of intelligence.
Wow. maybe the highest form of discipline as well. It's amazing, Terry, to listen without evaluating. I used to say I didn't even really know what I was saying. It may have been something that was being channeled through me, but I feel like as many as 15 years ago, when I would get up to preach, I would pray and say, Holy Spirit, speak to us past our filters today. That was my way of saying, speak to us past our evaluations, past our conditionings. And I've honed in on that idea for the past decade and a half. But when I first started saying it, I didn't really know what I was saying. I was just saying, Holy Spirit, if you want to speak in a way that's other than what we're used to hearing, we want to hear it. We want to feel it. We want to consider. We want to not have to evaluate everything. And I was taught this in systematic theology in my early seminary work, that you create what's called a grid, a grid work that kind of keeps impurities out of your mind. And that grid work comes from your study of the Bible. And if things don't match up exactly with what the Bible says, they're not able to pass through that grid and get to you. And that was a limiting way of saying we should only, understand life through the filter of the Bible. And I reverence the Bible. I'm in awe of the Bible. It is absolutely my favorite book. It's absolutely also a very dangerous book. Taken literally, very, very dangerous book. Almost all religious books can be that way. And so it is in the eye of the beholder how you deal with it. But I love that, Terry. Listening without evaluating, listening without filter, listening without projecting experience into what someone else is saying to us. That may be the greatest gift we can give people.
Miss Cheryl actually also stayed there about listening. She said authentic listening involves the inner work of opening space for others to be their authentic self and recognize, as you just stated, Pastor D.E., the oneness and interconnectedness of all beings.
Cheryl, you're telling on yourself in a good way. What did you just say? As I took a moment as Brandon was reading, I said, really listen to what Cheryl's saying right here. What you may say, what I heard past your words. I heard you saying you're comfortable with Cheryl. I can hear it so clearly. You're comfortable in your skin. When I'm truly listening, truly engaging in someone else's experience, that means I'm okay with me. Tolle said it this way: I can't inhabit your being until I inhabit mine first. I can't become comfortable with you being authentic with me until I'm authentically myself first. I was in an airport years ago and I was just writing down some thoughts, and I was thinking about human behavior, really from a sociological standpoint of whether sometimes we call it small man's disease, whether we talk about the Shakespearean idea of thou dost protest too much. And I began to try to just take a look at why humans behave the way they behave. Why are people homophobic? Why are people xenophobic? Why is there misogyny or male chauvinism? Why are we resistant to things that are different than us? And as I sat there waiting to get on an airplane, I thought, if people would become comfortable in their own skin, they would be more accepting of other people being comfortable in their skin. But it takes, Cheryl, as you are, obviously, it takes being at one with yourself before you can really inhabit what someone else is saying to you. And so I didn't mean to read your beads that way, but I can tell you're comfortable in your skin, Cheryl. Beautiful.
Apostle Clapp chimed in before, making sure you know that you rock, Pastor D. He said we may not can keep the thoughts from coming, but we can keep our focus energy off the thoughts that are not intentional or motivated by love.
Did Apostle Clapp, wow, did everyone feel the wisdom in that? Listen to the admission. We cannot keep the thoughts from coming. That means we're not in resistance to them. Let them come to you and through you. I love that, Apostle Clapp. Yes, we can't keep the thoughts from coming, but as we allow them to flow to us and through us, they don't stay. All of us have thoughts of fear. all of us, do you know, listen, watch this paradigmatic shift right here. Watch this. Jesus comes back to Bethany. Lazarus is dead. His sisters are crying and blaming him. If you had been here, he wouldn't have died. Jesus can smell him. He's starting to stink. And all of a sudden, Scripture says Jesus wept, but the Amplified says he wept bitterly. He felt the emotion of loss, of bitterness, of sadness. He was in it. Not only that, watch this, in the Garden of Gethsemane. He felt the emotion of fear, grief, pain, seemingly that he sweat drops of blood, lashes out at the disciples. Why are you sleeping? Can't you feel this with me? Can you not tarry with me for 1 hour? So he felt it. He even felt it immensely, but he didn't stay in it, and he didn't resist it. He wept bitterly. The next moment, Lazarus come forth. He sweat the drops of blood. The next moment, the guards come to take him. Scripture says Jesus stepped forward. Step forward. I am the person you're looking for. It is my destiny. This moment is my destiny. Look at the power of what Apostle Clapp just said in non-resistance. I'm not resist. The ideas may come, but the ideas are not me. I don't hold on to them. They pass to me and through me. Look at God. Thank you, Apostle Clapp.
There's a lot more comments that we won't get to this evening. So I'm trying to decide where to go.
Look at God, all this good stuff today.
Dr. Sharunda said, be still and know I am God. That was earlier on in the teaching.
Be still and know. K-N-O-W. Be still. The knowingness is in the stillness. Stillness speaks. Just get still. Get somewhere and sit down. There's another, I have a friend, Dr. John DeStito says to me, D.E., that verse is not get still and know. It is get still and N-O. God is telling you no. And so whatever way you interpret it, it's beautiful, Dr. Sharunda. Be still. And the stillness is the knowing. Be still of filters, experiences, fear, anxiety, projections into the future, fears of the past. Just get still. The knowing is already there.
I wanted to share something with you. I think it was earlier when you were talking about the experience you had in Asheville, which, by the way, your sister did chime in ecstatic dancing. Yes.
Ecstatic dancing. That's what I was vibrating with all the hippies. Let's do it. Let's dance.
And then at the same time, Tamaria chimed in. I've had a similar experience at a bar mitzvah. Such a wonderful experience. So I thought you would enjoy that.
And that speaks of the openness to experience it. We want to experience what someone else is feeling. I remember I felt like it was an attack at the time. It was a verbal attack. And I was in a meeting, civil and human rights meeting, and I spoke up and said, I would like to encourage us to broaden this gathering and invite someone from the Jewish tradition. Let's invite one of our Islamic brothers or sisters to sit at this table. Maybe a Buddhist monk or a Hindu holy man, a shaman of some sort, so that we really are being inclusive. And one at the table spoke up and chided me and corrected me and said, oh, no, he hasn't been part of the struggle. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And I said, hold up just 1 minute. Maybe my skin is not dark. Maybe I'm not a female. But I choose to be part of the struggle. I want to be here. And so I don't have an ulterior motive. Can you see that maybe your hurt is keeping you from including others? The desire is to be included, but you're becoming the oppressor. You're now letting your hurtful experience be projected onto other children in God's family. And so I was able to say in response, hopefully not in reaction, even though it shocked me that I was accosted that way, that I choose to listen. No, I don't. I wasn't born gay. I wasn't born black. I wasn't really born oppressed or disenfranchised in any way. raised basically middle class most of my life, but I desire to understand. I desire to listen. I desire to be empathetic. I want to understand the struggle. And then I asked, do you want to understand the struggle of our Buddhist brothers? You want me to understand your struggle? You want me to understand the same gender-loving struggle? Do you want to understand what it feels like to be a Muslim in America right now? Or are you just concerned about your Christian experience? Because see, when we talk about human rights, we're talking about humans. All humans have rights. All Americans have certain rights. All immigrants in America have. We are all humans. It is the human condition that we share. And so you can accuse me of not being part of the struggle, but I'm asking you, who is part of it? Aren't all disenfranchised groups that are excluded part of the struggle? And so it was a very difficult moment in that room. But there was awakening. There was awakening for me, those who were listening, those who were engaging in the conversation. But I believe a seed was planted both in my heart that day. I believe a seed was planted in those listening. That if injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, then it's not just in one community. It's in all of the human family. None of us are free until all of us are free. Those are the words of Dr. King. This was so good tonight. My goodness, do you know how happy I am that we share this sacred space together every week? Brandon and I sometimes reflect. I know we're a couple minutes past time, and so if you got something to do, you can go. But sometimes Brandon and I just look at each other and go, are we really doing this? Did we say and sing, and did we do what we did today in service and nobody left? Because 15 years ago we were going, can we survive this way? Can we really teach and preach and model the things that we're feeling and still even have a church to call ours, And now here we are on the same page, in the same vein, on the same frequency. It is the joy of my life to share this sacred space with you. And so I'm going to give some quick shouts out to everybody, and then we're going to read our affirmation together tonight. Look at all these names. My goodness, so many beautiful people on tonight. This is on live stream, Facebook, and YouTube. Miss Bobby Moore, Sherby, Dr. Sharonda, Cheryl, Anita, Dolores, Patricia, Miss Esther. Esther, folks, by the way, do you see, I don't know if y'all can see this tonight. This is an interfaith sculpture that Esther folks made for me a couple years ago. And Brandy said, why don't you bring that home? Let's let that be part of what we do on Wednesday nights. And so from now on, hopefully, at least for a little while, you can see the Islamic symbol, Hinduism, the Star of David on that side, praying hands, the spirit of the dove, bringing all those things together. And so thank you, Esther. I'll hopefully have that for the rest of my life. Callie, Ben, and Vicky, yay. Miss Alma, Gloria, Doreen, Denise, Tamara, Laverne, Betty, Taria, Josephine, Mama, Dr. Rachel B., Dr. Rachel Banks from Chattanooga, Miss Rosaline Cooper. Oh my goodness, I'm loving you. Sending love to you. Yes. Carmen, it says hello to everyone. I've been watch this. Carmen Barnes Bolds. Hello everyone. I've been watching all the way from Okinawa, Japan. What? I truly get spiritually fed every time I watch. Look at that. Ohayo gozaimasu. I hope I'm saying that right in Japanese. Myrna King, Tawanda, Alita, Sheila, Pastor LaDonna, Pastor Fred and Mary, Pastor Don, Pastor Gloria and Howard, Pastor Cassius, Randy, Jeffrey Culberson, Jennifer Culberson, Miss Elaine, what you mean, Jellybean Jeffries, Valerie Cole on tonight. Hey, Miss Valerie. Erica, Carla, Kenya, Lenora, Richard, Annette, Irma, Tamaria, Pastor Lonnie. Get happy and see what happens, Lonnie. Terry, Donnie, Emma, Charles, Tanya, Apostle Wayne Clapp, Miss Kimba, Luana, and the Reverend Dr. Jesse Harriet. Good to see you, my brother. And then Miss Megan Lynch. My goodness.
And last but not least, Miss Pat Hutchinson.
Pat Hutchinson. Wow. All of our beautiful people that have, all of us have had some physical challenges through this COVID season, but my prayer is that we continue to recover and that it's all good and all God. This was great tonight. We love you guys. I know we're a little bit past time, but that's just because we love each other. All right, let's read together tonight our closing affirmation. I am not my thoughts. I am not the thinker of my thoughts. I am the observer, witnessing the thinker, thinking the thoughts. Tonight, I am not the voice in my head or any limitation of an inherited collective cultural conditioning, religious indoctrination, or even my past experiences. This week, I will mind my mind, free my mind, be free of my mind, and surrender to practice no mind. Amen. We love you guys. We'll see you again on Sunday morning. Until then.
Hey, remind everybody about next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday is Ash Wednesday. Yeah, thank you for that reminder. Next Wednesday is Ash Wednesday, and as part of our teaching, we're going to do a virtual communion together. And so I encourage everybody who tunes in on Wednesday night, we'll make the announcement Sunday as well, to be part of our Ash Wednesday, both our teaching and also of our communion together. And so we look forward to that. We look forward to Sunday morning seeing you, and we look forward to next week, Ash Wednesday. Go in peace. May God bless you.